Hello, everybody. My name is Gaia Riedmüller, and today I'll be presenting my analysis of Biopunk, a short science fiction film directed by Liam Garvo and released on the Dust YouTube channel. The film explores a post apocalyptic world that has been devastated by a biotechnology driven viral outbreak that killed the majority of the population. However, the movie is not only about survival after a disaster, it also examines ethical responsibility, unstable power structures, and the difficulty moral decisions people are forced to make during crisis conditions. My main argument is that Biopunk demonstrates how the misuse of biotechnology and unstable authority can lead to ethical collapse, while empathy, compassion, and moral responsibility remain necessary for meaningful human survival. The story follows two siblings, Risha and her younger brother Kyo, who are trying to survive in a harsh and unstable world. Risha feels deeply responsible for protecting Kyo, guiding him and providing for both of them, while Kyo is still young and does not fully understand the danger around them. On their way to work, they encounter different people, including Edwin, a young man trying to recruit them into a movement called Spring, which reflects the instability of society and how easily vulnerable people can be manipulated. Later, they arrive at the market, where Risha begins working for Bob, while Keo is forced to play nearby. Suddenly, a preacher detonates a bomb in a crowded market, causing panic and violence. During the chaos, Risha is injured and unable to stop authorities from taking Keo away. The film ends with uncertainty and loss, showing how quickly survival can turn into powerlessness. From the opening scene, the film establishes a world completely shaped by destruction, silence, and abandonment. We see empty streets, damaged buildings, ruined structures, an arid environment where there's almost no sign of life left. These visuals immediately show that the viral outbreak destroyed not only human lives, but also the social and political system that once organized society. The wide camera shots make the destruction feel larger and more permanent, while the muted colors and lack of sound create emotional discomfort for the audience. The silence is especially powerful because it forces the viewer to feel the isolation and fear the characters experience. This is important because the film presents collapse not as a single past event, but as an ongoing condition where survival has become the only reality. Biotechnology functions as a double edged force throughout the entire movie, representing both scientific progress and catastrophic failure. The virus that destroyed society was caused by biotechnology and the malfunction of it, showing how scientific advantage can become dangerous when it is separated from ethics and moral responsibility. Instead of improving life, biotechnology becomes a direct cause of collapse. Nancy Cass reinforces this idea when she explains that ethics helps us regulate goals, engage respectful and inclusive discussion, minimize harm, and engage with each other fairly. This idea becomes even stronger in the scene showing a wall of missing or dead people. The camera focuses on individual faces and photographs, transforming large scale death into something deeply personal and emotional. Instead of showing numbers and statistics, the audience sees real human loss and feels it as well. This shows that without ethical limitation, scientific project can easily turn into destruction. One of the strongest themes in the film is how power operates through systems rather than through one clean leader. This reflects Michael Foucault's theory that power exists through institution, knowledge, and control mechanisms rather than only through direct violence or force. Foucault argues that power is not something that is acquired. Power is exercised from innumerable points, which is quoted then by Kaldybekov in his article. In Biopunk, authority is embedded in survival system, technology, and access to basic resources. We see this clearly in the market scene, where access is controlled by guards and military authority. Even basic spaces needed for survival are restricted and monitored, forcing people like Risha and Kyo to sneak inside. Kaldibekov also explains that power is not exclusively referring to the threat or use of force, but may also be exerted through diffuse means such as institutions. Another important example is Bob, the market owner. At first, he's angry because Risha and Kyo arrive late, but once he realizes that Risha has technical skills, his attitude changes immediately. This shows that power is fluid and unstable. Human value is based on usefulness rather than morality, fairness, or traditional hierarchy, especially during critical times. As society collapses, ethical boundaries begin to collapse as well. People start justifying harmful actions through survival logic, and authority continues to operate without accountability or moral responsibility. In this world, violence and control become normal parts of daily life. Wilson describes biopunk narratives as containing gritty dystopian settings, corporate terrorism, technopathology, and body invasion, which perfectly reflects the unstable world of biopunk. This is shown most clearly in the preacher explosion scene. A preacher begins shouting in the crowded market and then detonates a bomb, creating chaos, fear, destruction, and the separation of the two siblings. He appears to believe his actions are justified by ideology or faith, but instead of solving anything, the violence only creates more suffering and instability. The film suggests that crisis does not eliminate moral responsibility. Instead, it creates difficult ethical questions about whether survival can ever justify immoral actions. Even in a broken and violent world, emotional relationships remain essential for survival. Risha's relationship with Kyo shows that love, care, and responsibility are just as important as food or safety. A small moment, such as forcing him to tie his shoelaces, might seem simple, but it represents protection, discipline, and emotional responsibility. She understands that even the smallest detail matters when survival is uncertain. This connects to Slava's argument that emotions guide decision making. Without it, individuals would not be able to select options or attribute values. Without emotional, people would struggle to know what matters the most. We also see compassion when Bob offers Risha food and asks if she and her brother are okay. The small acts of kindness show that empathy still exists when larger institutions fail. The movie Biopunk also presents fear of technology as an important ethical paradox. After the disaster, people no longer trust scientific progress because technology is directly connected to destruction and loss. We see this through the unreliable devices people use and their fear of relying on more advanced tools. Technology is no longer seen as progress, but as a threat that could repeat the same mistakes of the past. This creates tension between survival and responsibility. Rejecting technology may feel safer, but it also makes rebuilding society much harder. Cass argues that an ethical public health response should set priorities based on essential functions. This shows that the problem is not biotechnology itself, but the lack of ethical framework controlling how it is used. Technology is not the enemy, unethical use of it is. In conclusion, biopunk shows that the greatest danger is not biotechnology itself, but the absence of ethics in how it is used. Unchecked scientific project, unstable authority, and crisis-driven decision-making lead to moral collapse, dehumanization, and repeated cycle of violence. Guy Ryder connects this to real life when he states that the human dimensions of the COVID-19 pandemic reach far beyond the critical help response. This shows that biotechnological disasters affect not only human health, but also social systems, economics, and moral decision making. However, the movie also shows that empathy, compassion, and emotional responsibility remain essential even in the harshest conditions. Through the relationships between Risha and Kyo, the movie argues that survival without ethics becomes meaningless. True survival is not about staying alive, but about preserving humanity. Without moral responsibility, society risks repeating the same destruction it is trying to escape. This leads to three important questions that the film left me with, and I want to share with you. First, can survival ever justify abandoning ethical principles, or should morality remain constant even during extreme crisis? Second, is fear of technology a necessary form of protection after disaster, or does it prevent society from rebuilding and moving forward? And third, in a collapsed world where institutions fail and authority became unstable, who gets to decide what ethical survival actually means? These questions show that Biopunk is not only a science fiction story, but also a reflection of real debates about power, crisis responsibility, and the human cost of survival. These are all the citations that I used in my paper. Thank you so much for your attention, and I hope you enjoyed this movie as much as I did.